Fundamentals, Episode 1. This is Budgeting Basics. George Patton said that a good plan violently executed today is better than a perfect plan that we implement next week. So I'm going to go through 10 tips that I will give you to make your budget and to really be intentional in the area of your finances. Tip number 1, you need to have a zero-based budget. That means your income comes in at the top of the budget, all your expenses, and then at the end you're left with exactly zero. Some people are freaked out by that. They think that that means you have to zero out your bank account. No, it just means that you have to give every dollar a mission, every dollar an assignment, every dollar a name before the month begins, and then you adjust from there. Katie and I always have a carryover category, which means what was left from the month before, it has a name as it comes into the month so that we know where that money came from and where it's going. Tip number 2, you and your spouse need to be on the same page, and that page needs to be, in this case, the budget. I hear again and again when people call into the Dave Ramsey show, how do I get my spouse on board? And I can't imagine how difficult it would be to try to pull someone in one direction when they're wanting to go out and spend like crazy, spend like they're in the government or something, and just be irresponsible. But luckily, I have a great teammate, and that is part of the reason why we're able to see such progress in our finances, because we're on the same page. We both want to knock out debt. We both want to buy a house and start a family and all those things. And it's very important that you discuss those things with your spouse. And it's best to start with your reason why, not to get into the mechanics of, oh, we need to sell this. That'll just freak them out. But if you start with, let's dream. What do we see for the future? If you start with that, then hopefully you can dig down and get past all of those mechanics that can be so tricky. Number 3, you need to use Every Dollar. Every Dollar is an amazing budgeting app. You can use it online on your computer. You can use it on an Android device or on your iOS device. And it's totally free. They do have a plus version where it's easier to track your expenses, but you can totally use it with the free version, and it's awesome. I'd like to thank Mark because he got us on board with Every Dollar. We had tried it out when it was just for people in the States, and I said we were from New York just so I could use it on the computer, and Katie didn't like it that much. But once Mark got us on board and it was available in Canada and we got the apps and everything, it's been phenomenal, and it's been 1.5 years since we've been on the same page because of that app. So I highly recommend it, and I'll have a link to it in the show notes. Tip number 4, your budget is your friend, so visit it daily. It's very important that you not just set up an ideal budget at the beginning of the month and just forget about it and then freak out when nothing goes according to plan. Everything is dynamic. Everything changes. You'll have unexpected things come up. You'll have birthdays you forgot about, or certain expenses that are emergencies that come up. Whatever it is, make sure that you're putting it into the budget, that you're adjusting your income as your checks come in, that you're adjusting your expenses as those change. And most importantly, that in the end you end up with a zero, because you need to give every dollar a mission and an assignment in order for you to win in the area of your finances. Tip number 5, do a mini budget for each check. Every time you get some money coming in, it might not be exactly what you thought at the beginning of the month, but it's so important that you take that check and you look at it, where it needs to go, what are the bills that are coming up for this check. Like for example, Katie and I will have 4 main paychecks from our day jobs this month, and I'll have 3 checks coming in from my side job. Every time one of those checks comes in, or even when the pay stub is there before the check comes in, we allocate every dollar to make sure we know where it's going. And that increases the power of what it can do. Number 6, divide up large expenses. So we pay $1,000 a month in rent. And that feels like a waste because all we're getting out of it is a little apartment to live in. But the most important thing with your budget is those big expenses like that. If you don't plan for it, all of a sudden you got to throw a whole check or just freak out trying to scrounge up money at the end of the month to pay it. No, like $1,000 divides easily into 4, $250 for each paycheck goes towards rent, then it's taken care of and you don't have to freak out. Number 7, increase your income. Now when you start budgeting every dollar that you have, it will feel like you got a raise, but you didn't actually get a raise. So it's so important that if at all possible, you pick up overtime or you pick up a side job so that you can have increased margin where you can throw more money at debt, you can dig out of the hole sooner, and you can most importantly get to that reason why you want to be financially stable. Leaving a legacy, being generous, changing your family tree, all of those things at the root cause are why we are taking these intentional steps. Tip number 8, decrease your expenses. It blows my mind that people still waste money on cable. Like, why are you paying for 300 and some channels and you might only like the content on 1 or 2? I mean, you can stream things online for a lot less than you can pay for cable. You can intentionally cut out other expenses, like, well, I just cut my hair, and I don't know if you think it's well done or not, but the fact is I saved $20 to $40 yesterday, and every time I do that, I'm putting savings in our pocket, and I don't know, I haven't butchered it too bad since college, so. Tip number 9, you need to have a mini Murphy fund. You know, Murphy's Law, if anything can go wrong, it will. You need to have, say, $1,000 set aside so that you can take care of those emergency expenses. And Christmas is not an emergency. Just things that you are disorganized and you didn't see coming, that's not an emergency. You need to look ahead into the future and know, okay, this is coming up, I've got to start budgeting for that. Yeah, that was my coffee. I'm excited about that. And tip number 10, last tip, cut up that credit card. And I know that sounds insane to most people, but credit cards are a way of life for most people, but most people are satisfied with being mediocre. And if you want to be a high achiever in the area of your finances, you cannot be relying on a credit card. I still remember in college, I got a Costco membership for Christmas, and that was great. So I'm at Costco and I'm like, oh, maybe I should get a credit card. Like, I should see how much I can get approved for just in case I need something. So I go and they give me $6,800 credit limit. And I'm a broke college student who has very little income coming in. I was working at Starbucks at the time. And I was baffled by that they thought I was that credit worthy. But the fact is, just circumstances and me being an immature college student, I had racked it up and maxed it out by the time I was ready to get married. And that was such a weight on us. Like, I still had to pay that off after we got married. Like, don't be disorganized and have to rely on a credit card. Have an emergency fund and do a budget. So that's it for today for Friday Fundamentals. I hope this helped you. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends, and give me feedback as to how I can help you better. Thank you. God bless. You can keep your cars and your jet